think it is the experiences, the people, the things we do. And like you, we go and we travel and we think, oh, do we want to go shopping while we're in London or Miami? I'm like, no, I don't need anything.
Emptiness for that's previously filled by stuff has been filled by experience and just natural joy. So I am so excited today to have this fresh new episode of Vallarta Real to share with you, our loyal viewers. Today we are interviewing Brian Hogg, one of my dearest friends and most long-term clients at Crateinteriors, also a long-term permanent resident in Mexico. Brian and his partner Chris made the move to Mexico more than 15 years ago. He is here to share his story personally. And this date is super sentimental for Brian Hogg. They are really excited about celebrating 5 years of full-time residency in Mexico and helping others who would like to invest in vacation homes, luxury villas, rental property operators, and learn from their experience how to make that transition from a US or Canadian destination to full-time living year-round. So can't wait to share the story. Take a look and follow along.
It's hard to believe that we've known each other for 17 years, Deborah, at this
I
point.
know. So yeah, so let's tell the story a little bit. Like we've actually known each other about 17 years. I was
Mhm.
counting sort of 15 because it's been about 15 official years that Crating
Yeah,
Interiors has had its design service in Puerto Vallarta.
right,
We're
right.
initially an LA-based design studio, and
Right.
we met in those very early months as you and Chris were making your plans to purchase real estate, I think for the first time in
Right.
Vallarta and begin your journey. So take us back all the way.
It's interesting. My first time here was actually 1981. I was in seventh grade and we had a class trip. I was in Dallas and we had a school trip here and about a dozen of us came to Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. And I thought it was great, fun, enjoyed it. Next step off to university, et cetera. I went to law school and I was working for Four Seasons Hotels. And of course, they had the beautiful property up at Punta de Mita. And our Dallas team offered regional support for them. And so there's my next chance to come down here 18 years after my first trip and absolutely loved it. So jump forward about 2 years, the resort's open. Chris and I, who will hit 25 years in January, we were on our first trip. We'd been dating 7 or 8 months, and we took a trip. And Puerto Vallarta is where we came down, and we stayed at the West Inn in the Marina for the
Yes.
first couple nights, and then went up to the Four Seasons, and we really enjoyed it. And when we got to the point in about '05 or '06 that we thought, where can we invest? What can we do? And Chris, as you know, is a big skier. He likes the cold weather and the snow, and so the previous year we bought a place up in Lake Tahoe, and I said, well, if you're going to have a ski house, I'm going to have a beach house, and this just seemed like the natural place to go. It's so interesting. I never really mentally thought, oh my gosh, it's a different country, it's a different culture. It just seemed like a beautiful place to be. We'd of course come back and forth many times, and came down to look at real estate with our friends at Tropicasa, who were great to us and still friends to this day.
That's right.
And a different environment then. And it was about that time that I know that you were starting to look in the area. What should I do? Because you were still LA based when we first signed our first contract with you. And so we closed in April of '09 and we were slow to get settled up and get things started. And then there you were, and you were that angel that came and said, "Let me set up your place for us." And it was seamless. It was so easy in that sense. And we loved it. And I think part of the ease for us of moving down here is that we've been so many times. I'd been here for months at a time for work. I'm fluent in the language, and you sort of ease into the family. But these days, people pack up and move at a whim, which I think is quite fascinating, Deborah, that they come down here and after 2 weeks, captivated by what we have. The natural beauty can't be beat. You and I, of course, have found that. I think that's one of the nicest things, no matter where you go in the world, you have to find a place that you can feel at home. And you and I both like our hiking and our running and our
Right.
swimming and our outdoor time. And it's just abundant down here.
It
And
is.
that's what makes it nice, is that there's a lot to do, but there's a lot of places to escape to as well.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really
an
beautiful.
incredible lifestyle. And I echo that same sentiment. There's a very vibrant athletic community here.
Yeah.
There's hiking literally steps out of the door. You can be on the top of a mountain in 30 minutes, which is unprecedented. Most of the people I know have to drive out an hour out of town and park in a, national park grounds and get bussed up to a trail. I mean, accessibility is just so abundant. And then we're part of this beautiful yoga tribe at the Flying Heart Space with Willis
Yes.
Johnson that has really become an epicenter of the community here. And it's a vibrant year-round community. We're in practice every single morning, and it contributes hugely to both of our lives, I know. So just having those anchor points, I think, in a community is what creates that sense of belonging for people.
Absolutely. And it's whether you're staying in areas that are mostly expat or you're staying with the nationals, people are so friendly here just across the board. Finding those communities, whether you're into fishing or you're into yoga or you're into cards or whatever it may be, there's so many opportunities to do anything you want down here. You could be busy 18 hours a day. The music scene is fantastic, the culinary scene. And so it's not a place where people just sit here and sit on the porch and do nothing. We always, as you say, we see people out and active and moving. There's so many opportunities here.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that's so amazing about you and Chris is that you have really entrenched yourselves in the local community, and you are both very active in community action projects.
Absolutely, absolutely. Top of our list would be the animals. We're both just huge animal lovers. So we have our little rescue dog right here, Sophie, and Chris for several years has been on the board of directors for the SPCA here. And they went through quite a tough time, as you know, 3 years ago when we had the hurricane in August. The shelter was pretty much wiped out, and Chris really spearheaded the efforts to rebuild the shelter and get everything shored up there. And it's so nice. He goes out there with that type of work, with the administrative work, but he goes out on Saturday mornings and just walks the rescue dogs and just takes them, puts them on a leash and hikes up into the hills with them. And how
Oh,
nice that is to get them out and to just have that peace and quiet and serenity. So the animals are great. And there's several great animal organizations, not just SPCA. Sula is out there, Animalistas. If there's something you're interested in terms of any types of animals, you can find it. And then, of course, he's the cook of the family, so he goes down to the food bank on Wednesday mornings and does mise en place. He chops vegetables and makes soups and stews and sauces, things that can really benefit the community here for everyone. On Thursdays, he's tutoring through the organization Vallarta Abuelos, which is an amazing opportunity for anyone to get involved in. They take children from around the entire community, from north to all throughout the Bay, and pair them up with sponsors who help them with school costs and help them with social activities and really get them established. And then on my side, I just finished my 2 year stint as president of our HOA. Here at Paramount, we have 80 units, which are occupied, about 20 of them full time. About half of them are seasonal, as we're very familiar with. And I really took the time to be employee focused. We have 14 full-time employees and really making sure that we were treating them as they deserve to be treated in terms of employment benefits, training and development, English classes, things that we can do, providing meals for them, really upping the experience in that level.
Yeah, that is for sure class A HR experience being overlaid onto this into this
It's fun.
environment. So lovely. You're benefiting hugely from being able to share that experience, and their organization as well as, gain tremendously from having all those touch points on HR. I didn't realize it was a
Definitely.
staff of 14, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Beautiful property with
We
immense grounds to care for.
Absolutely. And I think for me a next step, which I'm looking at now that that time and that commitment's over, is volunteering in the university, either University of Guadalajara or some of the trade schools here, given my background in hospitality. And that's such a thriving business here. And there's a
Yes.
very good jobs for people. And I might do some, I'm going to try to do some guest lecturing in the hospitality school here.
Oh, that's
So,
amazing, Brian. Yeah, I
thank
have,
you.
children of the teams and the staff that are part of our organization, our cleaning crew, etc. Their daughters and sons are all in various hospitality programs between Jalisco and Nayarit, very interested in tourism and the opportunity that that brings for them.
Hasn't it been fascinating? Because this used to be, as we saw it when we were first here, it was people from the West Coast. It was California, Washington,
Sure.
Vancouver that
Those
came.
flight
And
costs.
now we have people from all over the world that come here. It really has become quite an international destination. It's not unusual to sit on the beach with people from Colombia or Argentina or the Netherlands or Korea. It's just fascinating how it's grown in its appeal to everyone.
Very true. I was talking to a developer of a new property that's going to be out in the Fluvial area, and they're reporting a spike in interest from German investors. And I was just fascinated by that. I was like, so what's happening in your marketing or your algorithm that's attracting German investors? And they're like, we're actually not sure. But people are very interested, in investing here from Europe. So
It's
it
great.
happens that this month is your fifth anniversary of full-time residency in your which once was your vacation home, now
Yes,
your permanent residence.
right.
So congratulations on 5 years of actual
Thank you.
full-time living here. Obviously, you've already let us know it's been about 14, 17 years since you actually had your place here and made this kind of part of your year's rotation. But 5 years ago, you made that leap to living here permanently. What were the steps that you guys took? And what was that marker that you hit where you were like, this is the year we make this full time?
Yeah. You see, yeah, well, I'll answer these in reverse. The marker was Chris's retirement. So he's a few years older. And he said at 59 and a half, I'm done. And we popped up and it was January 1st that year. And I said, when are we going? And he said, here's our drop down date. And here it was. Now that was 5.5 years ago. Now we've been here 5 years. It was all him. And he originally had told me we would come at the end of the year and then he moved it up. So he gave me about a 3 month notice that we were selling the house and moving everything.
Pack your
So
bags.
he said, I think it was easier for us in a way because we had a fully furnished place here. We had everything we needed down here and we moved very little with us at that point. Just the essentials. And by coming down and visiting 3 or 4 times a year for the
Right.
dozen years before that, we grew to have a community and meet people and find things. We didn't try to do everything in one day. We didn't come in here. And as you know me, I'm a very type A personality. I want to get things done. But I didn't ever sit here and say, okay, here's the 20 things we need to do, and it needs to happen in a week. Realizing that, you know what, take a day off and go walk on the beach and just relax and enjoy the environment. There's plenty of time in our future. I'm not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. We have no plans or desire to go anywhere else but here. And so to think that we needed to try to transition so quickly and get everything done, I think people often think that they try to accomplish 10 things in a week. And it's not necessary and it's just not realistic. And so easing yourself into it, finding the place to live, finding the basics, getting your phone set up. And once you have a place to live and a telephone, you're pretty much halfway there. And that's about, I mean, half the time we wish that's all we had
Yeah.
in life in that sense. But But all of the services are here, and it's all easy to flow into that. And don't be afraid to ask for help because people have been on this path ahead of you. We often think, oh, I'm going to go here and I have to do everything. I have to know everything. Talk to your friends who've lived here. Talk to the people who live here who were born here. They are more than willing to lend a hand and give advice on how to deal with the DMV or the electric company. In that sense, it seems intimidating to people because, oh, it's a different language, it's a different culture. But at the end of the day, it's a basic service and we all just want the same thing. And as long as you go in there and listen and be polite and do what you need to do, it's going to work out.
Yeah, that's very true. So, were you and Chris always aligned in this goal, or was there a time where, one of you was more, motivated to make this transition than the other? How did you sort of align your two career paths and your objectives and this timeline?
I think when we put the check down in 2008, I think we just sort of both in the back of our minds agreed that this would be the step. I don't think we knew the timing of it all, but when people said you can do 90% of your work online, I said absolutely,
Let's go.
absolutely. So it is sort of funny. People all the time think that I spend every single day sitting down at the beach having margaritas and playing volleyball in the sand. I'm like, I'm online with all of you each day. You see that I'm working. I'm doing my contracts and my seminars. So people get this impression that life down here is a complete vacation, and it certainly can be, as you know. But there's a lot of us like you and I and Willis that run our businesses and our lives, and
Sure. Yeah, and I think for people who do make the move to Mexico and do transition here to maybe life, year round or at least a good chunk of the year, you can weave in those, natural amenities and those outdoor experiences. But at some point, you get back to real life, and your life is kind of hardwired with a schedule that you've built through your lifetime. And so, if you're a disciplined early riser, if you have a certain, healthy diet and you have a, certain exercise and the sports pastimes that you enjoy, those are going to become the basis of your life. If you're into community action and community service like you and Chris are, you're going to seek out those opportunities where you can have impact.
and I think sometimes this stigma, oh, we're going to a different country. Well, you are, and isn't that the joy of all of it? That people think there's just that mental block. I actually packed up at 21 and moved to Spain. I lived in Madrid for a few years, and so I sort of had felt that life and that the difference of being in a different environment. And I think that probably was part of what pushed me and made it a little bit easier. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what country in the world you're in, we're all people. We all want to live our lives and be happy and get along, whether we do it in Mexico or we do it in Canada or the United States or South Africa. We all really just want the same thing out of life. And
Oh, that's so
and
true. So when was it that you sold your Austin place or Dallas place, or was it Chris's estate that he was selling up? Because I remember we helped you move some of your estate artwork down to PV, and that was quite a
yes,
bit after you'd already had your base here.
yes, yes, that was the one difficult thing. And thankfully you came through on that as you always do for us. It was so we did sell the house in Austin. We sold everything, the cars, the house. The only thing we wanted was about 10 pieces of artwork. And it was just very difficult to get that imported. That's one area where there's some tricky rules on it.
Or
Other than that, I had made trips back and forth. There's a nonstop from Austin to Puerto Vallarta. And for those 6 months before we moved here, I would come one weekend a month. I would bring 4 suitcases. A lot of it was my legal work, my files, things I had to have.
right. I think that can be a barrier to people too who maybe have other residences in, the US or Canada, thinking about how to make that leap and how to make that jump, how to transitioning either the stuff or not transitioning the stuff, let it go. How do you liquidate all of that? And then, make that definitive decision.
That whole paradigm of keep getting rid of things. We brought much more than we would ever need. I thought that I needed more dress clothes, more winter clothes. And over the years, as I go back to the US, I'll take suitcases and donate them to the shelters up there. But whatever people think they need, you need less of
Yeah,
it.
way less. Yeah, I'm actually doing the same thing right now. I brought lots of little shirt dresses and things that I thought would be the right kind of vibe for living here. And turns out, it's a lot more humid and I'm a lot more sweaty than I imagined. And so even the most casual things just don't work here. Everyone tells a story of how, leather rots in your closets, no matter if you have AC or dehumidifiers going 24/7, which we all do. Your swimwear, workout gear, anything with lycra starts melting and spandex, it just all sort of melts away. And I just find that my interest in stuff, my consumerism melts away as well. I just want less and less and less. I need less. I have fewer and fewer cravings. My emptiness previously filled by stuff has been filled by experience and just natural joy, and I want less of it around me. I feel like I'm giving away and donating, like you're saying, more and more things. It takes way less to make me happy at this stage of my life.
I am 100% in agreement with you. I think it is the experiences, the people, the things we do. And like you, we go and we travel and we think, oh, do we want to go shopping while we're in London or Miami? I'm like, no, I don't need anything. I don't
That's
need
right.
anything.
That's
So
right. You really seem to have created the most beautiful, curated, creative lifestyle for the two of you that encompasses all your different interests and passions and seems so effortless. I think a lot of people yearn for that. They plan and save for that. They hope that one day their lives can look like that. And I just would love to share more of your story with others and help people to understand how they can make that transition and they could maybe, have this earlier than they're maybe expecting in their timeline.
absolutely. And I think that the travel, the experiences, that's what we love about being here in Mexico is there's so many places in our country to go visit where we are now. And looking at that and we try to do a balance and we've been very good in the past 5 years that if we go somewhere internationally, such as Colombia or Chile or Argentina, we also then the next quarter we'll do something, we'll go down into Oaxaca or we'll go to Merida or Guanajuato and exploring all the beauty that Mexico has to offer. And there's so many different states and different environments here that we have years of fun travels ahead just in Mexico to do,
Couldn't agree
which
more.
I'm so excited about. I'm
I
so
couldn't agree
excited to do
more.
that.
Yeah, I am deeply passionate about exploring more places in Mexico and more destinations where not only it's a design destination, so maybe an opportunity for us to deepen our resources and our sourcing for our clients and our design projects, but also just to explore more of the changing culture, the culinary diversity, the terrain that's so different. There are incredible hiking destinations all around the country that I think a lot of North Americans don't even know about. Just, it's such a
Yeah.
large country in general that I think there's so much more than the few things that have hit the covers of travel magazines.
Right,
The very
right.
few things that have made those covers so far.
And you sit here, and here we are on the Pacific Coast, basically straight down from Denver, Colorado, and Cancun is east of Atlanta. I mean, it's sitting on the far opposite side. It's such a huge country, and people don't realize that. If I say, "Oh, I'm going to Merida or to Cancun," people say, "Are you going to drive?" I'm able to drive. It would take me 22 hours, and they're completely shocked by that. They don't realize what a mountainous and beautiful country we're in.
Let's pull out a globe. Let's recap. Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, I just think that you're so blessed, Brian, and I am so grateful to know you and count such a long-term friendship. We're just incredibly lucky to have had you and Chris as clients very early on in our journey and to continue that opportunity to know you two as friends and to also serve you in small ways throughout the, you know, renovation and redecoration and, re-upping the artwork of your place over the years. And I truly believe people, will be inspired by your story, and maybe it's the little push that they need to make that change that they've been dreaming about, to understand how doable it is, and how you and Chris were able to make that happen so long ago.
It is completely doable. Are there hiccups? There are with anything, though, no matter where you go and what you do. And at least if you have a hiccup down here, you have a beautiful sunset to look at and great food to eat while you sort out the details. So
Yeah.
it makes it all a little bit easier. And people here are overwhelmingly positive. I think that's something, and you and I who do our yoga and our meditation, I mean, we're surrounded by that every day in the studio and in life, but just walking down the street, you get a feel that people are happy. It's just not a negative, mean-spirited country. It's really quite welcoming and quite beautiful. And that's what makes that transition so easy, is that if I stop on the street corner and ask somebody something, they're going to help and they want to help. They want to be part of it. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
nice.
the thing. Well, I so appreciate you, Brian, and thank you so much for sharing your story. We
Absolutely.
love to share some beautiful images of how your home in paradise looks today and what you've been able to do with it, and
Yes.
inspire others to make the leap and to make the move to Mexico a reality.
Absolutely. We'll have you over soon. As I kitchen redone, we're changing
Oh,
that,
we
and
can see
so
that.
that'll be
Yes.
that'll be the last step. Of course, we did renovations 2 years ago when we got hit by the hurricane, and we lost our living and dining area, and it was all brought down and all rebuilt. Nobody was injured, and it's all done and beautiful. And now the kitchen, and now we're going to be set. So
I love
we can't
it.
wait to get people over and entertain. And if any of your clients or people have questions and they want to reach out to me, I'm happy to answer anything.
Oh, I would
I'm
love
an
that.
open book.
We'll
Very, very happy to do so.
We'll make that available. Thank you, Brian. So thrilled to share Brian Hogg's story with you today. His story of making the transition to full-time residency in Mexico with his partner Chris is truly inspiring. This is just one way that we are telling the stories of art, design, and architecture, and keeping Vallarta real.